I always believed love was simple. You meet someone. You fall in love. You build a life together. And if you're lucky, you grow old side by side. That's what I thought I had with Arav. He was charming, funny, and had this way of making me feel like the center of the universe. On our anniversary each year, he'd do something grandiose, petals on the bed, candlelit dinners, surprise vacations. We were that couple. The one others envied. Until this year. Our 7th anniversary was coming up. Lucky number 7 or so, I thought. I spent weeks planning a surprise dinner, even pulled out his favorite cufflinks he hadn't worn in ages. I was sure he had something planned, too. He always did. But when I woke up that morning, the bed was cold beside me. No note. No breakfast. No happy anniversary. Just silence. I tried not to panic. Told myself he was probably planning something big. Maybe he wanted to surprise me later in the day. He'd done that before. But hours passed. Then it was evening. Then night. Still nothing. No call. No text. Not even a sorry, work's hectic. And for the first time in 7 years, I felt forgotten. Something inside me cracked. At midnight, when I finally gave up waiting, I opened Instagram to distract myself. I shouldn't have. But I did. And there it was. A photo. Arav. On one knee. In front of another woman. Holding out a ring. Her caption read, "He proposed. I said yes. Ring can't believe this is real." The date and time? Our anniversary. My hands were shaking. I couldn't breathe. My heart? It didn't just break. It shattered. No explanation. No warning. Just betrayal, in the most public, humiliating way possible. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I got up. Walked to the drawer where we kept our important documents. Pulled out the file labeled marriage. Took out our marriage certificate and something else I'd tucked away for years. Divorce papers. Already filled out. Just in case. All they needed was a signature. So I signed them. The next morning I went to the post office. Found a silver congratulations card. Wrote 3 words inside. Best wishes ahead. And below that I added, P.S. You're now officially free. I slipped the divorce papers inside, sealed it, and mailed it to him. On the envelope I wrote, "From your wife X, actually. Let him celebrate his new beginning." I had just started mine. People say you just know when you've met the one. For me, it happened at a bookstore of all places. Arav reached for the same copy of Pride and Prejudice, and I made a snarky comment about him pretending to be into classic literature just to impress women. He smirked, said, "Maybe I'm just trying to impress you," and that was it. I laughed. He asked me for coffee. I said yes. And just like that, we began. I was 26, newly promoted at the marketing agency where I worked, juggling deadlines and office drama, but somehow Arav made everything feel lighter. He was a structural engineer, obsessed with designing buildings that would last 100 years, and I used to tease him, saying, "Let's just focus on making us last first." He always said we would. He had this way of listening so intently, like every word I said was important. I remember once I mentioned how I used to love strawberry ice cream as a kid. A month later, after a horrible work week, I came home to a freezer stocked with every brand of strawberry ice cream he could find. He said, "Just trying to fix your bad days, one scoop at a time." It was little things like that. Our wedding was small but magical. Candlelight, jazz music, the smell of fresh jasmine everywhere. I wore my mother's earrings, and Arav cried during his vows. He promised honesty. Laughter. Forever. For years I truly believed he meant every word. We built a life together. A cozy apartment filled with mismatched furniture and memories. Sunday pancake rituals. Netflix marathons. Long drives with no destination, just music and conversation. We weren't perfect, but we were us. And I felt that meant something. Of course, there were cracks. But aren't there always? He got quieter over time. Busier. Stopped texting me during the day like he used to. blamed work. I believed him. He started traveling more conferences, site visits, meetings that ran late. Sometimes, he'd come home smelling like a new cologne I didn't recognize. I teased him about it once, and he brushed it off with a half laugh and a kiss on my forehead. "You overthink too much," he said. So I tried not to overthink. I blamed myself for the distance, told myself I was being needy, that maybe I had changed, that it was just a phase, because when you love someone, you make excuses for their absence. You fill in the silences. You cling to the version of them you first fell in love with even when they're no longer that person. My best friend Zara once said, "Sometimes we're so afraid of losing someone, we forget to notice that they're already gone." I didn't get it then. I do now. Arav was slipping away for months, maybe longer. And I was still holding on to the idea of us, blind to the signs, deaf to the alarms. Because loving him felt like home. And whoever expects their home to collapse? It started with a lie so small, I almost missed it. Arav told me he was going to a 2-day work retreat, some off-site strategy session in Jaipur with his firm. Nothing unusual. He'd been on similar trips before. I even helped him pack, folding his shirts just the way he liked. But as I zipped up his suitcase, something about his eyes felt different, distant, cold almost. I brushed it off, hugged him a little tighter, kissed him a little longer. Told myself I was being clingy again. He left on a Thursday morning. By Thursday night, something didn't sit right. I called his hotel around 9 p.m. just to check in. Maybe hear his voice, say goodnight like we always did. But the receptionist sounded confused. "There's no guest by that name," she said. "Are you sure you have the right hotel?" I hung up. Double-checked the name of the place he'd told me. Same one. Maybe he gave me the wrong name by mistake? Maybe he booked under a colleague's name? My thoughts raced through 1,000 harmless scenarios. I even laughed at myself. God, stop being so paranoid. But something kept gnawing at me, so I did something I never thought I'd do. I opened his laptop. It was there on the kitchen table, unlocked, almost like it was waiting for me. I didn't go searching for anything specific. I just clicked. Emails, project files, boring spreadsheets, but then calendar entries, and one stood out. Dinner 8 p.m., the Oberoi, Udaipur, her favorite place. My stomach dropped. Udaipur? Not Jaipur. And her favorite place? Who was her? I clicked on it, and the entry expanded. No further details. Just a tiny heart emoji in the title. My hands trembled. That was our place. Our favorite hotel. He had taken me there for our 3rd anniversary. It was the place where we danced barefoot under fairy lights and whispered promises about the future. And now he was there. With someone else. I stared at the screen, a cold weight pressing down on my chest. I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I took out my phone and went to Instagram. Not his page, he never posted much. But I knew his colleague, Ria, had a habit of tagging everyone in everything. She was a digital oversharer. If something was happening, she'd post it. Sure enough, I found a story. Not from her, from someone I didn't know, a tagged post. Arav, sitting beside a woman I'd never seen before, her head on his shoulder. Candlelight. Champagne. My eyes fixated on the woman's hand. She was wearing a ring. Not just any ring, an engagement ring. My throat tightened. My husband was in Udaipur, on our anniversary, dining with another woman, while I sat alone in our apartment waiting for a text that would never come. I kept staring at the ring on her finger, zoomed in, zoomed out, watched the story again, and again, and again. It disappeared after 24 hours, but it stayed burned in my memory, like a scar I couldn't scrub off. I didn't know her name. I didn't know how long it had been going on. I didn't know if she even knew about me. But I knew one thing with crushing certainty. That ring wasn't from some random guy. It was Arav's proposal. And he gave it to her on our anniversary. I sat on the kitchen floor, knees pulled to my chest, the silence in the apartment loud enough to drown me. His voice echoed in my head, "You overthink too much." Was I overthinking now? Was there a reasonable explanation? Maybe it was a business dinner. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe I was spiraling over nothing. But no matter how many lies I tried to build to protect myself, the truth was already clawing its way through. He was with her. He chose her. I could have called him, confronted him, demanded answers, but something in me refused. Maybe it was pride, or maybe it was fear. What if he didn't deny it? What if he looked me in the eye and told me everything I dreaded was true? I wasn't ready for that, so instead I played pretend. For 2 days, I went through the motions, made coffee, answered emails, even laughed at a client's stupid joke on Zoom, all while dying inside. When he came home Sunday night, I was curled up on the sofa, watching a rerun of our favorite series. He walked in, suitcase in hand, and smiled like nothing had happened. "Hey babe, missed me?" I nodded, my face calm, like I hadn't seen the betrayal plastered all over social media. Like I hadn't spent the last 48 hours replaying every moment of our marriage, trying to figure out what was real. He kissed my forehead. The same forehead he used to press promises into. The same lips that had whispered forever. "You look tired," he said, slipping off his shoes. "Work stress?" I almost laughed. Work stress? Was that what we were going to do now? Small talk and lies? I forced a smile. "Yeah, just a rough week." He flopped on the couch next to me and leaned back with a sigh. "Same here. That retreat was exhausting. I need a vacation after the retreat." My eyes scanned his face. He looked so comfortable, so normal, like he hadn't just come back from proposing to someone else. The audacity of it made my skin crawl. "Did you take any pictures?" I asked casually. "You know, the hotel, the view." He stiffened for half a second, just enough for me to notice. Not really," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "Left my phone in the room most of the time. We were in meetings non-stop." Liar. His phone buzzed just then. I glanced at the screen. No name. Just a heart emoji. His hand moved fast. He flipped the phone face down. I stared at it for a moment, my heart hammering. Should I ask? Should I scream? But I didn't. Instead, I said softly, "Do you still love me, Arav?" He looked at me surprised. "What kind of question is that?" "I'm just wondering." He reached for my hand. "Of course I do. Why would you ask something like that?" I nodded slowly, my throat burning with words I couldn't say. "Because you just proposed to someone else. Because I saw the ring. Because I know you're lying to my face." But instead, I just whispered, "No reason." And he smiled, like he'd passed some sort of test. That night, as he slept beside me, breathing deep and slow, I stared at the ceiling for hours. Wide awake. Heartbroken. Numb. Part of me wanted to wake him up and throw the divorce papers in his face. Part of me wanted to believe just for a few more hours that we were still us. But deep down, I knew. This wasn't my husband anymore. This was a stranger wearing his skin. And I didn't know how much longer I could keep pretending I didn't see the monster behind the mask. Just when I thought I'd seen the worst of it, fate twisted the knife deeper. 3 days after Arav came back from Udaipur, I received the courier. No note. No sender's name. Just a sleek black envelope with gold trim. Inside was a wedding invitation. At first I thought it was a cruel joke, but then I read the names. Arav Mayira Tania Singh. Wedding ceremony, December 18th venue, the Oberoi Udaipur formal attire requested. I reread it. 3 times. My hands shook so badly I almost tore the card. Tania. That's what she looked like, a Tania. Pretty. Polished. The type of woman who wore heels without pain and smiled like she'd never had to beg someone to love her. And there it was. In embossed gold letters. The truth delivered right to my doorstep. He didn't just cheat. He planned the wedding. With her. while still married to me, while sleeping in my bed, while calling me babe and kissing my forehead and asking me to pass the sugar. I sat down, the card still in my lap, trying to breathe. My first instinct was to storm into his office, slap the invitation on the table, and demand answers. But then, something stopped me. A tiny, cold voice in my head whispered, "Why? What more do you need to know?" It wasn't about answers anymore. It was about what I was going to do next. That night, I placed the invitation in the drawer beside our wedding album. 2 love stories. One built on lies. The other on betrayal. And yet, the universe wasn't done with me. Because the next day, while I was scrolling through my emails, I noticed one from Arav's office marked as confidential. It had been accidentally forwarded to our shared cloud drive. Subject line: Final vendor payment engagement shoot footage. My stomach flipped. I clicked. There was a video file attached. I shouldn't have opened it. I really, really shouldn't have. But I did. And I watched them, Arav and Tanya, twirling under fairy lights, laughing as flower petals rained down, whispering into each other's ears. He kissed her like he used to kiss me. He looked at her like she was the center of his world. And then he said something to her that ripped me apart. I never thought I'd feel this way again after that mistake. Mistake? Was he talking about me? Was I a mistake? A decade of love. Years of sacrifice. Nights I stayed up nursing him through fever. Days I rearranged my world just to make it easier. Everything I gave, everything I lost, every little piece of myself I broke to build us all of it, a mistake? I paused the video. My reflection stared back at me on the dark screen Tear Street, trembling, and finally, done pretending. It wasn't heartbreak anymore. It was furious. And something inside me cracked wide open. I waited until the perfect moment. Our wedding anniversary. The same date he chose to propose to her. The irony was too delicious to ignore. I cooked his favorite dinner paneer makhani, jeera rice, and garlic naan. Set the table with candles. Wore the red silk dress he once said made me look like fire. He walked in, surprised. "Wow, what's the occasion?" I smiled. "Happy anniversary." He blinked, caught off guard. "Oh, right? Anniversary. I totally forgot. Work's been hectic." Liar. I gestured for him to sit. "No worries. Sit. Eat." He sat down, still confused but flattered. I poured him wine, filled his plate, and made sure he had no idea this was his last supper. Halfway through the meal, I excused myself and walked to the bedroom. Came back with a single envelope. I placed it beside his wine glass. He looked at it, brows furrowed. "What's this? Your anniversary gift?" He smiled awkwardly. "You didn't have to open it." He did. And froze. Inside was a card that said, "Congratulations on your engagement." Beneath it, clipped neatly, were divorce papers. Signed. His face turned pale. "What the hell is this?" I leaned forward, calm. "You tell me, Arav. You're the one who got engaged behind my back." He opened his mouth. "Shut it. It's not what you think." I laughed sharp and humorless. "Oh, really? Because I think you proposed to another woman while still married to me. I think you took her to our hotel. I think you called me a mistake in your engagement video." His eyes widened. "You saw the video?" "I saw everything." Silence. Then he stood up, pacing. "Look, I was going to tell you. I just didn't know how." "Oh, you poor thing," I said coldly. Must be hard juggling 2 women and a wedding schedule. He turned toward me, eyes flashing. "It wasn't like that. You and we've been distant. You've changed." "No," I snapped. "You changed. You became a coward who cheats, lies, and throws away 10 years like garbage." He walked closer. "We can talk about this. We don't need to end it like this." I held up the papers. "Oh, but we do. Because you already did, the day you slipped that ring on her finger." His jaw tightened. Fine. If this is what you want, no, I interrupted. This is what you wanted. I'm just giving you exactly what you deserve. He looked at me like he didn't recognize me. Good. Because I wasn't the woman who begged for his love anymore. I stood up, grabbed my keys, and headed for the door. Where are you going? He called out. I turned back, meeting his eyes with a calm I didn't know I had. To reclaim my life, and to drop off this card addressed to your fiancé. His face went white. You wouldn't watch me. And then I walked out without tears, without looking back, and without a single ounce of regret. They say closure is overrated. But when I handed Tanya the envelope outside her bridal, fitting her perfectly made-up face crumpling as she opened the congratulations card only to find divorce papers with my name already signed it, felt like closure wrapped in poetic justice. She stared at me, speechless. I met her eyes and said, "You're welcome to him. Just remember he proposed to you while married to me. So if you think you're the exception, you're not. You're the sequel." And then I walked away, heels clicking like a full stop at the end of a decade-long sentence. I didn't cry after that. Not once. Instead, I moved through the days like a woman reborn. I cut my hair. I deleted every photo of us from my phone, and every memory of him from my heart. At first, people asked questions. Where's Arav? You two were so perfect. I smiled. Perfect lies look a lot like perfect love until you look close. My mother cried when I told her. My friends were furious on my behalf. Some even offered to help me slash his tires or send embarrassing screenshots to his company. I didn't need to. Karma had sharper nails than I ever could. Because a few weeks later, I found out something deliciously ironic. Tanya called off the wedding. She dug deeper. Found emails, messages, bank statements, other women. Apparently, I wasn't his first betrayal, just the longest one. And when she left, she took her scandal to social media. The truth unraveled publicly, like a silk thread snagged on every corner of his spotless image. His company dropped him from a key project. His clean reputation wasn't so clean anymore. And every time he tried to deny it, someone had receipts. Me? I stayed silent. Let the storm rage outside while I build peace inside. I started painting again. Something I hadn't done since college. At first, it was therapy. Now, it's purpose. I'm even holding my first solo exhibit next month. Funny how sometimes, the worst heartbreak is the beginning of your best self. One afternoon, about 3 months after the divorce was finalized, Arav showed up at my apartment. Unannounced. Pathetic. A shadow of the man who once stood at the altar and swore forever. He stood at my door, holding a single rose. "I made a mistake," he said, voice soft. "I lost the only woman who ever really loved me." I didn't get angry. Didn't scream. I just looked at him for a long moment. Then said, "You're right. You lost her." But I didn't. And I closed the door. Softly. With finality. Not because I was still hurt, but because I was finally free. They say betrayal breaks you. Sometimes, that's true. But sometimes it breaks the cage you never realized you were in. And when you step out bloody, breathless, reborn, you learn something priceless. You don't need someone to complete you. You just need someone who doesn't destroy you. And if that someone never comes, you still win. Because you became that person for yourself.